Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to yet another round of clusters talks as the year is drawing to an end. My name is Jevila Kropaite. I will be your moderator today. I'm really happy to get connected with all of you again to discuss clusters and to discuss specialization strategies. I will soon explain in greater detail. Most of you probably know what that is already. But I will just remind you that smart specialization strategies are designed to foster region-specific growth through research and innovation. They do encourage EU regions to identify and invest in areas where the regions have unique strengths. And this way, competitive advantage is being promoted. And it is built on three pillars: localization first, prioritization second, and participation, focusing on place-based assets, concentrating resources on select priorities and engaging local stakeholders. In this current financial period, Europe's green and digital transitions are a big focus, obviously. But what is the cluster's role in smart specialization strategies? They may act as intermediaries and catalysts within regional innovation systems, ecosystems. But what does that actually mean? In what precise ways do they do that? Where does the untapped potential lie? How can clusters enhance regional strengths and foster growth through smart specialization strategies? They are all questions we will attempt to answer in the talk, which is entitled From Strategy to Action, Leveraging Clusters in Smart Specialization Strategies. So this is the topic of today. As always, we will have a panel discussion where you will be most welcome to join, and we will have a presentation from the Commission. Before that, we will hear the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. We will, as I said, hear from the European Commission, DG Regio in this case, and then we will have a panel debate and a representative, Angela from European Cluster Collaboration Platform, will also remind you of the funding opportunities that exist too. So this is roughly the agenda, pure, simple, as always. We will use Slido to launch polls. Whenever you see a QR code, you're encouraged to have your phone with you and scan it to answer a specific question. This will give us guidance on the level of knowledge, the level of involvement, the level of interest you've got in smart specialization strategies. So we would be very glad if you could actually make use of that QR code. Zoom Q&A function to ask questions, the chat function to comment or share links. I can see that a lot of you are already greeting one another and saying welcome. So this is the chat that you may be using further on as well. But if you wish to speak, you can also do that when you raise your hand. We will give you the floor, and you will switch your camera on, and then we will see your question and your actual comment or the actual proposal that you've got. The session is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform once the session is over. So these are the tech tips, the housekeeping rules, very briefly, and we will now hear the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Angela is with us. Angela from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, a team member there. Angela Negrete Benedi. So Angela, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much, Civil. Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Okay, we will start with the call of expression of interest for the Class Summit regions. As many of you already know, this is a possibility organized on behalf of the European Commission, who is coordinating for the next year further 10 European cluster regions workshops for 2025. The objective of this expression of interest is organizing these workshops to strengthen strengthen European EU industrial ecosystems and regional economies by fostering collaboration between clusters and regional authorities. If you're thinking who can apply, this application is addressed to any cluster stakeholder who is already working or is interested to work within the economic development in their region. It is also open for institutions like regional agencies for economic development and business network groups. We will remind you that it is needed a letter of support from your regional authority. The proposals can be also from national or regional authorities. Deadline for this call for expression will be 10 December this year, and the application must be fulfilled in English. And we want also to present the EU Business Hub. This is a program funded for SMEs and startups, and that they are active in green and low carbon technologies, digital solutions, and healthcare and medical equipment. This is for organizing business missions for these two Asian markets, Republic of Korea and Japan. 10 business missions for each country. 50 EU SMEs and startups can be selected for each business mission. The objective of the program is to assist these companies in their expansion to these Asian countries. The participants will get the 1,000 euro contribution, and also they will be assisted for accommodation and other co-finance services like legal, translation, etc. We'll have next week EU Business Hub and Semicon in Japan for digital solutions from the 9 to the 13. EU Business Hub and Smart Energy Week in spring in Tokyo for green and low carbon. And also in spring, we will have healthcare and medical equipment in Korea. Okay, and that will be all. I will give you the floor. Julie, I think today we're starting with one slider question.
Yes, we would like, thank you, Angela. We would like to now find out, as I mentioned before, your level of involvement into smart specialization strategies. If you know something about them and what your interests are, if you could scan your QR code, it will take you straight to the question, which we will see on the screen in a short moment. In which degree are you collaborating with your regional authorities in defining and developing smart specialization strategies? This is really easy because you don't have to come up with any notions or any words. You can just pick one of the options. Not at all, just in the definition phase, in definition and implementation. And then option number 4, we are closely collaborating through all the phases. So you can see the QR code on the side as well. Do take the opportunity to answer this multiple option question. That will give us an understanding. And I can now see that roughly 1/4 of you are not participating at all, just in the definition phase as well. So that's roughly half, 40% of you do not have much to do with regional authorities in defining and developing smart specialization strategies. And most of you, 44%, are in the definition and implementation phase, which kind of gives us a view and understanding of your involvement and your collaboration. And I think that will be then easier for the Commission representative to know the level of involvement and understanding. So again, 43% in definition and implementation, and there are still 14% that are not participating at all. And it would be nice to ask them if they know what they are, smart specialization strategies. But in case they don't, we will have Silvia Alvarez Santos from DG Regio to get us familiar with this concept. So Silvia, thank you so much for joining us, and the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about smart specialization. So as we were just kind of introduced, go to the next slide, please. Smart specialization is an innovation policy concept that was designed to enhance regional innovation, to support regions and enable them to focus on the strengths and comparative advantages. If we go a bit back in history, for those of you who perhaps are a bit less familiar, this is a concept that was developed around more or less 2010 and introduced in cohesion policy for the framework period during 2014 2020. So Commission require member states to develop these strategies as a basis, a strategic framework for the investments in research and innovation under the regional ERDF, the European Regional Development Fund. The idea here is to have a strategic basis for the investments, and it has proved that it was working, as recent exposed evaluations have shown. Smart specialization has significantly influenced the design and the innovation of the strategies in the European regions, and this is fostering collaboration in different levels. These are based in three pillars that were also introduced at the earlier in beginning of this talk. One of them is localization, because these are regional strategies. These are place-based, so these are bottom-up processes as well. These are designed for those on the ground who knows what are the advantages, what are also the bottlenecks that need to overcome to get a better level of innovation and growth support. And we have, as a matter of fact, the regions strategies in all regions that are supported by the ERDF, regardless of the level of development. So we have around 180 smart specialization regions, which are regional, sometimes also national, depending on the architecture that the member state has chosen for the management of cohesion policy. Those are also prioritization. One of the other pillars is prioritization. So it's a fundamental part, because the local level knows better what are the strengths and the advantages of the region, so they can focus the funding on these areas. And a final one is the participation, because these strategies are designed in a collaborative process with both the academia, the industry, and also the public service and the civil society. And this part of the participation is a very important one, because of course industry is very active there, which is it requires, as I said, the participation of both of offer and demand. And I will come a bit later in the presentation, because this is an area where clusters are participating, and there is potential for further involvement as well. So as I said, they were initially developed during the 14-20 period, and then for the 21-27 period, the Commission asked to enlarge the scope of these strategies. So new elements were added to the initial ones, which were the governance, to have a body in place that is managing the strategy. Normally, this lies in the Innovation Ministry, Innovation Agency, depending, as I said, of the architecture of the region or the member state. Also, to have an ongoing stakeholder management. This process is what I was referring before on the participation, because it proved to be actually quite challenging to have processes ongoing, to not only to define at the beginning of the process the strengths, but also to identify the investments and to channel them and throughout the process. And this is an area where, as I said, this is involved from both offer and demand, together with the public authorities and the civil society. So this is a quadruple helps approach. And also to have monitoring and evaluation is in place for it. So those were kind of the key criteria, and we added a few more, like to support with innovation diffusion. And then we asked regions to identify challenges and bottlenecks that were preventing them to go this step further. And here, I mean, we have seen actually that a number of regions identify, for example, the weak linkages between universities and the industry as a challenge for the innovation diffusion, or a weak involvement of the industry also in this. So this is also areas that I wanted to highlight for the purpose of this conversation today, and the involvement of clusters and potential for clusters. An additional area that we also asked for was to identify measure to support the regions into the industrial transition. So namely was linked to the twin transition, the sustainable and digital transitions, and also identify measures for interregional cooperation with partners from other regions. Here I'm talking of strategies that were designed to support ERDF under shared management. So the programs that are managed by the member states and the regions, but as you know, we are also supporting the I3 instrument and the direct management, and many times also, which is also linked, and one of the criteria is to have a strategy, to collaborate in the strategy in the areas of the S3. So we have been also asking them how they could go this step further into this interregional element. And that's a last point here on this slide, is that we recently, the Smart Specialization Strategies were acknowledged as a coordination principle to strengthen innovation ecosystems in the new European Innovation Agenda, and in particular, the role of the thematic platform and partnership was highlighted, and I will come a bit later to explain more in details. So maybe we can go into the next slide, please, and then go to the S3 community of practice. These are some practical links for you to go through it. I mean, this is the main service that the DG Regio is supporting the regions in implementation of a smart specialization strategy. So it's like a hub, a one-stop shop. There you will find lots of information about the history, background, but also very practical information on implementation of this criteria I was just mentioning. And for the purpose of today, I wanted to concentrate on two aspects there, on the partnerships. So if we go one more slide, please, and later I will also explain a bit on this observatory. So the Smart Specialization partnerships, they were already set up around 2015. And these are a collaboration network that is done in partnership with other services in the European Commission, in particular with DG Agri for the agri-food, with DG Grow for the industrial modernization, with DG Energy for the energy platform, and for the DG Mare for the sustainable blue economy. The mission is to initiate and explore new value chains in these specific priority areas, aligning on the three priority areas, and then going towards the creation of European value chains and investments projects. Normally, these are several actors. These are specific criteria to have there, like the regions, also clusters, innovation agencies. If we go into perhaps the next slide, please, then I can show you the services that are offered via the street community of practice. So normally for ones that they join the partnership or the partnership is established, we have a service provider that is supporting in two of these items here, on two of these services. This is designed, this is customized for the development of the partnership, because we know that the needs of one can be different from the others. And this is all done at the beginning, and then the scope of this contract that you will have in case you join a partnership. And if we go to the last slide, then we can show you a bit how to apply there. This is a bit of a visual aid on what we have at the moment. We have 39 partnerships on those 4 thematic areas that I mentioned before, involving 191 unique regions across all member states and also 9 non-EU countries. So if you want to know more or to apply, you have also a link here at the end. It's all through our S3COP community of practice. We have an open call for you, also open all the time with 2 cutoff dates. The next cutoff is around March next year, so we have spring and autumn. So you could either set up a partnership if it is in your remit, or also to join an existing one. This is possible as well. All the details are there, and also you have any questions throughout the process, feel free also to contact the S3COP. I also put there the direct email address, so they will be happy to help you and support you through this process. Maybe a last word, that you might be wondering what are the advantages of being in this partnership, because this is capacity building. So this is helping you to connect and to establish collaborations and in the in the 3 areas. So in the end, this is acting a bit as a seabed for collaborative projects. So we have seen that some of our smart specialization partnership, then they evolve and got funding into other schemes, either I3, but also Horizon, or even like other, like in the European Maritime Fund. Also, once that you are in a project consortia, if you are part of these partnerships, it's also helps you to go beyond the project and also to facilitate this network, collaborating, and streamline the results of the projects. So maybe we go quite quickly, I'm conscious of time, onto the observatory. A few yes, thank you. So also in our S3 community of practice, we have an observatory there with all the smart specializations that we have around. And I think this will be useful for you to know, because you may wonder who could join you in your field of expertise. Well, I put there a couple of screenshots. There are several filter possibilities that you can see there, by territorial, but also by economic, scientific, also by innovation ecosystem. So I randomly here choose just an example. If you go to the agri-food, there you will have there are all the explanations you can see on your left, the regions, the priorities, and also direct link to the strategies, but you can also go to the territorial level. If we go to the next slide, please. Yeah, there you have all the details indeed to the priorities and the strategies. And this is whether you click on the map, you can go to the regional country profiles. I put just one for you to be aware of how this look like. And you can also see that you can have not only direct access to the document, but also you have there all the information already categorized. For example, to the thematic platforms in partnership. I put this example that is quite involved in quite a few platforms, so you can see the level of information that you can find there. And also, as I said at the beginning, many member states have national and regional, so you have both of them there. In the case there is only regional, you also have an explanation about how the innovation system works at national level. So it's actually a quite comprehensive tool there where you can find a lot of information about the different smart specialization strategies, and might be helpful for you also when you look for partners or try to collaborate with other regions. And that, I think, brings me towards the end. I just have a couple of more words just to have a word on the future, because you know that we are supporting the regions in implementation with the S3 COP, but also we are thinking about what to do next. The process is just starting, but we are currently building on the key elements that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation in view of the strategic framework. Probably many of you are aware of the drug report, who recently stated that well, we should focus more on innovation, but also closer to the market, and more into the valorization of research results. And this is something that is very much at the heart of the innovation support we give here in cohesion policy, and I also believe also for US cluster. So we are looking in how to further support and steer our strategies to align with industrial transition and strategic autonomy, how to even have a stronger focus on closer to the market, and how can we, for example, combine these structural and transformational priorities more with these improvements of the ecosystem, how to further reinforce also the value chain. This is something that is also very high in the drug report and in the current agenda. But at the same time, we are very conscious that regions are in different stages of development, and that we have to have strategies that are adapted to all levels, so to the levels of those who are leading, but also those who are emerging innovators. So we need to have something that is workable, and also to reinforce the channels of multi-level governance and stakeholder involvement, where US clusters, of course, have a very important role there. We are also shifting more towards reforms. If you have seen mission letter for Commission van der Leyen, and this is where we are heading to. So we are also looking into these new elements in the new strategic framework. And just the very last slide, please. And we are now going to Rimini next week for our S3 conference. I wanted to let you know that it will be part of it will be web stream under the link of our S3 community of practice, the direct link that is there. Still, the actual link of the web stream is not there, but you will find it there in a few days. And there will be there a panel where we will be discussing on the future of smart specialization in the context of the innovation and industrial transition. So you are very welcome to follow this also online. There is no prior requisite to registration. We are also launching a youth survey on the early next year. So we will make sure that it reach all the channels, and all the stakeholders involved in the smart specialization are very welcome to have their say on the future. And then we will have another conference more towards late spring next year. And in parallel, we are also discussing with all the stakeholders about the future framework. So this is where we stand, and I thought it would be important also to give you a glimpse of where we stand, both in implementation, but also in our future discussions. And I look forward to the discussion, and I'm at your disposal should you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. We do have a question, a very specific one from the audience. I'm guessing this is related to the partnerships slide. Is it accessible to national clusters associations?
It is accessible to clusters, but I'm not sure about the associations. I will need to check on this specific criteria and come back. If you give me a minute, I can quickly go and respond.
Yes, while we go into the panel debate, if it would be possible to check, then we will give you a word at the end. But before that, I have two small questions. Well, not really small, but when you say that number of regions say that the weak link is between industry and academia, and then the cluster should be more involved, do you have a vision of how specifically clusters could be involved here? Is there, one line that the Commission would encourage very much?
Well, I mean, they are, they can be involved in the several stages, but it's crucial, I would say, to have in the early stage an identification of the strategies, because clusters provide precisely this link between academic, or can provide this link. So it's very important that they are involved in the identification, but also in the implementation process, also during the implementation of the strategies, because we also experienced in the past, notably, that there was this process at the beginning, but then somehow was fading through the implementation period, and it's important that this is continuous.
And because you mentioned the Draghi report, can we already say that there are regions for which the smart specialization strategies have proven to be successful because of the competitive advantage that would have been remarkable for them? Is it possible to measure already, or showcase good examples of regions?
Well, we are currently working on that. I didn't mention in the last slide, but I mean, this youth survey that we are launching is in the framework of a study that is precisely looking into that. And we are planning to showcase the results in the spring conference in the spring next year. But it's true that, I mean, it's quite a comprehensive work to measure, because there are different parameters, but we are looking at the different levels of governance, of stakeholder involvement, interregional collaboration, and we will come with these examples also in showcases later in 2025. But we are very much aware indeed that this is needed as well.
Thank you, Sylvia. Do bear with us, and we will now delve into the panel discussion, in which you're all very welcome to participate as well as an audience. And we will have a rather nice list of speakers who I'm going to present, and I'm going to ask them to say a couple of words about their cluster or the organization that they represent. We will have Manager of Research and Innovation at Region Värmland, Anders Olsson, General Director at Polymerie, Patrick Villarmoz. We will have Head of National and International Projects at the Business Upper Austria, Christoph Reis-Schmidt. Also joining us, Innovation Manager at Flanders Food, Hughes Ferhahe. So welcome everybody. And thank you for joining. And then, as I said, let's first of all begin with saying a couple of words about how you are related to clusters and smart specialization strategies. Just a couple of words about yourself. Anders, let's start with you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to this event and make what we do more familiar for all of you that listen and look at the presentations. And we hope that we can form new partnerships also over Europe thanks to this. I would like to try to explain what we are doing in our region, Värmland, in smart specialization. This is the one slide trying to explain almost all the details of our smart specialization strategy. Our vision is a sustainable Värmland that makes a global difference by the innovations we do here in Värmland and get out to the global market, but also kind of a road model for how we cooperate also in our region. So in the middle, you see our 7 smart specializations. It's starting with forest-based bioeconomy on the left side, advanced manufacturing, sustainable solutions for photovoltaics, and to the right side, digital health innovation, attraction via sustainable site development, food, computer games. And above them, we have identified 2 societal challenges, one about the energy system and one about health and sustainable equal smart societies, where we see that our smart specializations can be a part of the solution and contribute to the solutions. And where comes our clusters into play? Andrea, can you please change to the next view of this slide? Here, you have the names and the logos for our clusters in Värmland. Upper left is Paper Province that celebrated their 25-year anniversary last week. And to the right, you have the Compare cluster, which will celebrate their 25 years anniversary next year. So we have a pretty long history of working with clusters. And we have assigned one in each of the cluster organization to be an open platform for one in each of the smart specializations. So that's a core for the design of our smart specialization strategy. And they have been involved all from the start when selecting the smart specializations, making the analysis, making the forming the specializations, but also forming the roadmaps in the later phase. So if you advance just one more time, Angela, in my presentation. We have also introduced 6 perspectives that we have identified as very good for including in almost all smart specializations. It's about circular economy, digitalization, gender integration, societal security, which sadly has been even more important since the strategy was adopted. It's also about social innovation, making also other assets available for the innovation system, and value creating services as a very important perspective as well. And you can find 2 of the clusters, Paper Province and Compare, to be also assigned to have an open platform for circular economy and digitalization. We also have formed the cooperation with our university, the Karlstad University, the Academy for Smart Specialization, which is a joint venture between the region and the university, which has been going on for 15 years now and includes more and more researchers cooperating with the clusters in a number of research and innovation projects. It has also been evaluated by the OECD, characterizing it as a more or less global best practice for a cooperation between clusters, university, and regions in a small region with a small young university. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Just a brief follow-up. So do I then understand that you have successfully solved the weak link between industry and academia problem, as mentioned by Sylvia?
Yeah, I think we can be better there, but we use the clusters as the link between us and the industry. So they invite the industry in forming the strategies, they invite industry in joining in projects, etc. So the clusters, they are really crucial here.
Thank you, and congratulations on all of the anniversaries of clusters upcoming and the ones that already happened. Let's move to Patrick now and hear from him.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tivile. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Patrick Villermoz, head of Polymeris, and I will follow very much Anders' presentation and what he mentioned about the way how cluster can connect strategy and the smart specialization strategy and industry. We are a French cluster pôle de compétitivité. We have more than 500 members. We have a large part of small companies and SMEs. And we are multi-regional cluster, so meaning that we are located in 6 different French regions, where we work with public authority, with different stakeholders for a long time about smart specialization strategy and how to, as you mentioned at the beginning, how to address the challenge to move from strategy to action. And this is our experience, and this is what we are pleased to share here. We are an industrial cluster covering polymer industry, meaning manufacturing and as well as material technologies. And the main challenges connected to smart specialization in our region are very much connected to green transition, sustainability for material, for recycling and other topics, and as well as digital transition for manufacturing, industry 4.0, and so on. And our experience is to make our best to connect the stakeholder of our region, companies, to this strategy, but also to European other region and other partners. I think Christophe from Austria will speak later. We started a long time ago, before S3, our European journey, thanks to a Region of Knowledge program, where we have started our collaboration with European partners. But from that time, we moved to the S3 framework, as mentioned Sylvia. 2 examples here, we are active in different framework and partnership. The one on food, on the right, food packaging, where we are 20 cluster part of it, and that is very active and dealing with all these challenges that are ahead in each region, but at the top agenda of industry in the food packaging sector. And another example of our network and our activities related to its partnership within the Vanguard initiative on efficient and sustainable manufacturing, where we are co-leading the partnership with our colleague from Lombardy region and Catalonia. And our main focus these days is to, and for a long time, but it's to promote the transition of industry toward a new business model. You mentioned the access to market earlier, and all the challenges of the industry these days. On both sides, we have on food packaging partnership. It has been already conducted on Vanguard ESM. Will start soon. We are benefiting of the COP Common of Practice program, and we are pleased to, and I think it's very helpful for such a partnership to improve ourselves and to be more effective. And just to conclude, on the next slide, please, our purpose and our main interest from this task to connect of connecting strategy, regional strategy, and industry is to implementation to reach implementation level within project. We make our best to thanks to this network to connect people, to connect stakeholders, connect companies, and to implement the main strategic goals within project. We have projects such as AI Regio 5.0 that came out, the Vanguard ESM I mentioned earlier. 43 partners led by our Politecnico di Milano, and we within this such project we have the ability to involve more than 10 SMEs that are putting within the project and business cases and that are of interest for them. And we have the chance to, and we have started a couple of months ago the same kind of experience in the food packaging sector, thanks to the S3 platform and partnership with this value for pack project, this I3 capacity building project, were led by our Polish colleague. And the same way, the purpose is to deal with the strategic goals of each of the region involved, the cluster region, and to put it in practice on real industrial and practical business cases. So this is our experience, and thank you again for inviting us to this session.
Thank you so much. I would like to now give a word to Christoph.
So thank you very much. Also, thank you very much for having me. And thank you very much for the good introduction and the information, Patrick, because I think I can build upon this information also very well. My name is Christoph Reischmidt. I'm with the business agency of Upper Austria since 2011 and responsible for the project development, but also for business development and things like this. I think we have a very long history of smart specialization. We have smart specialization strategies in our region since 1998. So already for quite some while, starting for strategy periods of, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And then the last two strategic programs were then in line with the periods of the European Commission. All these smart specialization strategies all built upon the previous ones. So there was no gap in between. And everything started with a crisis. We had big troubles with the steel industry in Upper Austria because Upper Austria is very much industry driven. And in the 90s, the steel industry had big problems. The idea was because key players from Upper Austria came across the approach of Michael Porter, and then learned about this story and thought, well, what can we do to become a little bit more independent from the central government of Austria, and came across the idea of clusters, how we could more or less support our industry on a more regional basis. The cluster organizations have then been developed over time, and in our company we host 8 different clusters with around about 2,200 paying members in all different areas or strength areas of Upper Austria. We have a department in our company responsible for the development, managing, and also for the evaluation of the smart specialization strategy. And consequently, this department directly involves the different clusters if it comes to the development and also monitoring and things like this, the smart specialization strategy. And each of our cluster organizations has additionally a kind of an advisory board. This advisory board reflects, on the one hand, the specific cluster value chain, consists mainly of different company representatives, mainly small and medium-sized companies, but also representatives from universities. But in these advisory boards, no policymakers are involved. So this is let's say, mainly industry-driven advisory board with some kind of university support. Basically, but this is maybe something I will address also a little bit later. We have specific kind of funding schemes in place where we very much focus our funding activities in line with the regional smart specialization strategy, and where we can really support the companies at areas where support is needed and where strengths need to be further developed, but also where resilience to bigger troubles on the horizons can occur, and where we can protect our company. So I think, and additionally, I think the international projects are also a key for further development for us. We always run around about 25 plus European projects, mainly in Interreg, but also in Horizon and in other areas, where we have tried to bring more and more companies on board to really generate better and better benefits for the companies. Yes, that's from me, and
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Christoph, someone was asking if you're missing slides, but I will just like to comment that no, Christoph didn't have a slide. This is just a short introductory speech, and those who wanted did have a slide. So thank you for that comment, but everything's in order, and no slides are missing. Christoph, I wanted to ask you something. When you say that funding activities are in line with smart specialization strategies, has it always been this way from the very beginning, 1998 or whatever was the year that you mentioned, or did you come up with it a bit later?
Well, I think that each strategic program had a different focus, but we developed so-called cluster collaborative projects. These cluster collaborative projects are a regional funding scheme where, on the one hand, we as clusters are involved in supporting companies with the application. Companies can join forces, mainly different SMEs, for innovation and for innovation measures, and also join forces with research institutes. And this funding scheme is already in place for, I think, 20 years or so. So this is really, really for quite some while already existing, but we focus our money and our activities more and more precisely on the S3 strategy, and have also other tools as well. But the funding scheme was in place more or less soon after kicking off the smart specialization strategy in our region.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, we will now move to our last speaker, Hughes, who has shared something in the chat, probably a presentation of his, cluster. Let's see what that is. Hughes, are you with us? The floor is yours. We're all
Yes,
ears.
I'm here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you and to share our experiences and our knowledge. As a first introduction, I do not have any slides, so anybody who is thinking or considering where my slide is, there's no slide here. But just to say, Flanders Food, where I work from, innovation manager there, is an innovation platform for the agri-food industry in Flanders. We have been established in the year 2004, so this year will be, or next year we have the celebration of our 20th anniversary. We are an innovation platform in which we have more than 300 industry members, so meaning companies from the agri-food sector, which are a direct member in our network, which means that we are really a demand-driven organization, which we intend to embed all the stakeholders in this quadruple helix innovation ecosystem. In 3 words, who or what is Flanders Food and what we do? It's innovation, strategy, and collaboration. We support agri-food companies in innovation, any kinds of innovation, looking at new processes, new products, quality, labor organization, or digitalization, whatever. Any demand from the industry, we try to support with innovation supporting measures. On strategy, we're a very much strategy-driven organization, which means that we in contact with the industry members and with the companies, we set up strategic roadmaps on specific topics. For example, a roadmap on side stream valorization, or a roadmap on world-class food production when it comes to digitalization and optimization. So we develop those strategies, which are a 10-year window to the future, where we ask our companies, what are your needs, your expectations? Where do you want to collaborate with whom, and what support do you need on that? And from this strategy, we tend to set up projects and collaborations between the companies, but as well government, research organizations, all the important stakeholders. We get some support from the region. We get an earmarked budget from the region, which means that on an annual basis, we can submit some proposals on our budget. Those proposals of these projects are, of course, defined in the strategies we have developed. At the moment, we have more than 70 projects running. Now, we have our strategies. How do we go from the strategy to the real action for the companies? We do have regional, but as well inter-regional collaborations. And in line with the topic of today, of course, with Flanders Food, we're involved in 4 S3P partnerships, where the lead region in 2 partnerships, which is Smart Sensors for Agri-Food and Food for Positive Health. We are the co-lead region in the Ingredients for Circular Economy partnership, and we are involved in the food packaging partnership, which Patrick has already mentioned as well before. All those 4 partnerships we're involved in, this S3 partnerships, are cluster-driven partnerships, which meaning that the real members in these partnerships are the industry clusters. What's the strength of that is that we can really mobilize the companies there. All those clusters involved in the partnerships are there with a backup from their region, with the support from the region. And myself, I am the chairman of the I4CE partnership, so the Ingredients for Circular Economy partnership, which is led by Wagralim, the other Belgian agri-food innovation cluster. With Flanders Food, we've been active in different, or we've always tried to use the different European instruments to further elaborate and implement our strategy. And for this S3 partnerships, we have already established projects, first within COSME, later on within INNOSIP, Euroclusters, and now already mentioned the I3 call and projects we are involved in. We have several I3 projects running in the different partnership, S3 partnerships. Apart from this, on a regional base, we think with Flanders Food, it's very important as well that we establish infrastructures. In support of the agri-food industry, Flanders Food is focusing on setting up a network of living labs in Flanders, in which companies can have an easy access to support when it comes to project development, process improvements, etc. So this is as a short introduction. I will put in the chat 2 links to the S3 partnerships, which have a standalone website already. And for people who would like to speak to me in person, I will be in Rimini next week. So I'm happy to reach out to any of you to have a conversation. If you're interested in the partnerships or want to collaborate on agri-food, feel free to contact me and reach out.
Thank you so much. And those who want to reach out online, they can probably do it via email, or the links that you mentioned are in the chat. There is a question if the slides will be available together with the recording. The short answer to that is yes. And before we discuss some of the issues, especially the one mentioned by Patrick and also Hughes from Strategy to Action. What are the lessons there? We will now launch the Slido poll, and if you could join us there, either by scanning the QR code or putting in the hashtag Smart Specialization. It will just take you directly there. What should the primary focus be, and what should the role? What is the role that clusters play in contributing to smart specialization strategies? There are some options. This is again a multiple option question. Facilitating collaboration among stakeholders is one. Providing inputs about industrial priorities is number second. Facilitating collaboration among stakeholders is the one that I've already mentioned, but it has all of a sudden become more popular with more people choosing this option. Supporting SMEs, strengthening regional value chains, aligning regional strengths with EU priorities, driving innovation and knowledge exchange, facilitating collaboration among stakeholders, I think, is the most popular one, together with driving innovation and knowledge exchange. So now we have one winning option: facilitating collaboration among stakeholders. Facilitating collaboration among stakeholders. Thank you for that. I will note that down for further discussion. And the last question that we will launch on Slido is the resources or support that clusters need to maximize their contribution to the smart specialization goals. This is not multiple choice. You have to type a word or two in. So I would very much encourage you to do that. And this will be very instrumental and helpful for our conversation further on. What resources or support do clusters need to maximize their contribution to the goals? EU and national funds, cascade funding, funding to hire professionals. Basically, roughly everybody is saying that it's funding. EU and national funds. Funding is a general option, and then cascade funding, FSTP, funding. So we just need funding. There is a comment about good knowledge of their industrial, local, regional ecosystems and a clear regional and EU strategic plans. Clear strategic plans is an interesting one because moving from strategy to action is a bigger issue as far as I understood from some of the presentations, but we will be able to discuss that now. ECCP support to cooperate, noted, stable long-term funding, cascade funding, cross-border cooperation, funding. Okay, so we've gotten an idea of what you need, and that's very helpful and very useful. Thank you so much. I would like to maybe now ask Patrick how clusters can better facilitate partnerships with local governments, universities, and international actors to support shared innovation goals. You said that you would share your experience from strategy to action.
Yes, it's a learning process, I would say, and it's good to share it with different regions. Our experience is first to have the capability to work with the regional authorities to the definition, to the selection of priorities, and in each of our regions we are as cluster, we are not alone, but as cluster we are asked to contribute to it. So it's a very interesting it's a point for us and a starting point. We do it in Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, in Centre-Val de Loire these days on how to organize the strategy for the material, let's say sustainability of material and advanced material, for instance. So this is one part, and on the other hand is to, as I said already, bridge each region and to future partners, other region. We know that region are cooperating, they have framework to cooperate between them. But we have the four motors, for instance, in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes with the Lombardy, Bad-Württemberg, and that is helpful for us. So this region, this network of region is helpful to also to set up a scene of cooperation. S3 platform or very helpful as well. And the next step and the purpose being to put in practice and to connect the different priorities and put in practice this priority into a cooperative project. And hopefully involving universities, stakeholders, and companies. And this is, I come back to the Slido question. Of course, for implementation, we need instrument funding, maybe, yes, fine. But we need a framework for this implementation phase. We are grateful to have this I3 tool for a couple of years now. Cascade funding, it has been mentioned, is also they are included in this I3, but we will use it in Eurocluster as well, or other program. Is a very helpful and very let's say valuable tool to and practical tool to involve stakeholders. So this is very promising, and let's say, yes, very valuable tools. And that's it. I think we still have to, and I come to your to one of your comments is from the Draghi report is to really to cover the complete chain of innovation up to market and business development.
Innovation to market.
Yes, not only proof of concept, prototype, technology development, but market. I think Christophe mentioned for Upper Austria history that it was a starting point how to make transition of industry. So this is a challenge, maybe one of the challenge to or improvement we could have ahead of us.
Thank you so far. How does that sound, working with regional authorities, bridging each region to partners, and also funding as a big issue, but not just funding?
Indeed, what we've heard from the Slido that the funding was the main word that came up and the first top of our minds from a lot of people I've seen around the room here. Within Flanders Food, of course, we collaborate with the region. We're linked with the regional authorities. We get some support from that. But as well, we're very much bottom-up driven with the information or all the needs we get from the industry. So for us, when it comes to what Patrick says, interregional connections, we have a good example with a currently running project for now, which is called Future Food S, and which is in fact the European Partnership for the Sustainable Future of the Food Systems. It's a partnership with 86 partners from Europe, from 29 countries. It has a scope of 10 years and a total budget of 110 million euros, where in fact regional stakeholders and very important regional funding organizations to support funding group together and to support the transition of the agri-food sector in Europe, including in the partnership, we have lead experts, research institution, business and policy makers. The important thing there is that we establish a long-term strategy to support the transition of the agri-food sector in Europe. And that's where regional resources are grouped to come to a European leverage point. You can say this is kind of a follow-up of what we've seen in the past from the ERANETs. Said before, the S3 partnerships for us stay very important. And as a clusters, we are backbone of the partnerships we are involved in. We know that there are other S3 partnerships where the regions are directly involved. But we believe if we want to make impact towards implementation within industry, we need to make the connection towards the companies. And we can easily reach companies through the clusters, clusters which have in their membership and in their structure a good connection to the industry, and we want to mobilize them. In order to support them, we see within our strategy of Flanders Food that on a regional base, we connect very good on support levels when it comes to lower TRLs. But as Patrick said, we need to go through the whole pathway until reaching the consumer, and these higher TRL levels are more difficult to reach or to support from a regional level. And there we count on the European level, where, for example, with I3 instruments, we find a good way at the first to support implementation, but as well we give a focus on the long-term strategy development. So we use it in both ways, direct support to SMEs, but as well development of longer term strategies and implementation roadmaps.
Thank you. There is an interesting question from the audience about supporting companies in innovation procurement as well, given the importance put by Draghi report and says on demand-driven innovation. Does any of the clusters provide support to companies in participating to public procurement of innovation? Anders, would you maybe have an example?
Yes, I happen to have one example. One of our clusters, the Compare cluster, they have developed a methodology that they call the Demand Accelerator, where they, together with the public organization, define a challenge that they need to meet with an innovation, and invites companies to come with innovative solutions. And this is done in several steps. So it starts just with a one-pager of an idea of a solution for a company. And then some companies get selected to get the funding for developing this idea for further steps. And this is done in an iterative process where you ends up with one company that wins the call and can develop this innovation. And the ownership of the innovation stays at the company, so they also can scale on the market after having this first important customer. It has been used for some cases, and it has also been highlighted by the United Nations in their innovation community.
And would you maybe give us an understanding of how many companies have scaled? Because you said that innovation stays with them.
It has just been used for 2 years or so, so there are not that many examples yet, but there could be 1 or 2 yet. But I think this will grow quite rapidly, and it is implemented by some other municipalities in Sweden in the first stage and regions as well.
Thank you for sharing that example. Christoph, what would you say? In what ways can clusters act as effective platforms for innovative collaboration? What barriers still exist in fostering these partnerships? Maybe you have a procurement example as well.
Well, I have a bunch of ideas in that context. I think the challenge is often that we shouldn't end up as consultants. I think this is often the limits what we have to some extent, where we intensely support the companies on a very practical way is in the field of, let's say, open innovation, design thinking, and things like this, really identifying problems, identifying also black swan events to come, and so on and so forth. So supporting them to identify challenges and work with them how to overcome these challenges, and deriving then specific funding schemes for them to then really go into this application formats where we support them again with the applications so that they can really get the products developed. And also we have, if the project is then running and also there are new really products developed, then we have a department dealing with patent research, so we can make sure that they can protect their new products from being stolen in a sense. So this is another point. And we collaborate also, or I say one of our partner companies is the so-called Tech2B. This is a tech incubator where we collaborate with the tech incubator and huge companies in Upper Austria, like First Alpine and so on and so forth. And they highlight fields of innovation. And then this Tech2B does the scouting where startups have the possibility then to get support and can bring in their innovation. And then we link more or less the startups with the old companies to get, on the one hand, really innovation on the ground, and also to secure that not the big one takes everything and the little one gets lost on the way. So these are just some bits and pieces. So it's a very long path, really, from brainstorming till the patent issue where we can support at different places.
This concept, says Patrick, and model of demand acceleration is very interesting to address the challenge of access of market for regional stakeholders. Did you want to elaborate, Patrick?
This is a very interesting tool, I would say, or model. We have experienced some kind of idea from our side how to contribute to this implementation and transition from innovation to value, and to get value and for the companies. And but for this purpose, one bottleneck or showstopper is competition, the regulation of competition. We cannot distort competition. We have to deal with this rule. But there we could consider some innovative model or tool for this purpose. We bring support to company and especially SMEs in this final step of innovation reaching the market. We do it somehow within the Digital Innovation Hub model. I think several of us are involved in this kind of tools promoted by the European Commission and the DG Connect, how to support company for the digital transition. And the approach is to support services from the cluster to companies. So we could have in mind such kind of approach or model to through cluster to provide services to company to transform innovation into market value through cluster services, I would say. It's just a rough idea.
Yes, thank you so much. We are running out of time nearly, and I will still ask for a comment from the Commission. But before we do that, let's collect some final steps forward, final words from you, very briefly, if you could. If we look forward, and as markets and technology landscapes are shifting, what are the proactive steps clusters, you as representatives of clusters, could take and should be taking to build resilience and to ensure that regional strategies remain relevant? And basically, what are the next steps forward that each of you should be taking to kind of make this process smoother, Anders?
Yes, thank you. One perspective is the inclusion perspective, that as many people as possible are involved in the transformation, taking part of it. And one important aspect of that is the gender inclusion. We have a very gender divided labor market in our region, and especially to include the women in the producing industry is important. And I would like to highlight one of the Interregio Europe projects debuting, where we are the lead partner, addressing clusters' role in gender integration. The debuting project, where we have a number of good examples from different parts of Europe.
If you could share the link, if you haven't done that already, to that specific project, that would be also very interesting to learn about it. Thank you. Hughes, looking forward, your thoughts on what clusters should be uptaking?
Well, I'm looking at for ourselves within the agri-food cluster. It's important that this transformation of the sector, in which we see this systemic transformation, that we can further support this. It would be important if we want to bring, we want to keep competitive. That it has been said before with the Draghi report, that we take away the barriers which hinder quick implementation, more specific in the food sector, for example, and the development of novel ingredients, and going into this green transition, where we go for more sustainable proteins, for example. We see that there's a lot of regulatory burden to facilitate or that companies can easily go to the market. We see very innovative companies going abroad of Europe because of European regulations, which are linked to novel food, for example, which are hindering them to go quick to the market. So we would say go for this great sandbox environments, regulatory frameworks where innovation can grow faster to the market. Towards the support of companies and support innovation, we've heard about I3 support. It's great, but at the current moment, I3 support is focusing on these less developed regions, which is great, but it's very important for Europe that the more developed regions keep on innovating as well. We need to support them to keep on high innovation. And there we see there's within I3 is a lacking support of these highly innovative regions, which are more developed, but they should as well continue to grow. Otherwise, we will not grow as Europe as a whole. So 2 points from my side on this.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Christoph, let's extract one sentence from you.
Okay, very quick, or maybe it will be 2 sentences at the end. I think the key focus issues are customer centricity. Then the clusters have to deal with the topic of scenario thinking. This is a big issue to be ready for the future. And if you have the framework conditions of a smart specialization strategy, you have to be a little bit flexible without losing more or less the focus. And we have more or less the 4 foci to not get lost in crazy times. These are the fit foci: fit for digital age, fit for human-centered technology, fit for sustainable solutions, and fit for new mobility. This is more or less our flexibility, what we have to adapt quickly if things go wrong or worse or bad.
Let's hope they don't. Patrick, any final statement? Very briefly, if you could.
Yes. No. Just a short statement related to the challenge and the of connection of ecosystem with a region or and regional cluster or leading ecosystem, and our ECCP is a front edge for this, and for that we need instrument. We need to go beyond barrier, as you mentioned it, and then to reach a point that we can bring value to our ecosystem. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we've still got Sylvia with us, who will now hopefully say how happy she is with so many ideas that we have collected, and maybe we'll make a comment on the Clusters Association question. Sylvia.
So, hi, hello. No, indeed, has been very enriching this panel discussion. So I take lots of notes on the on the ideas. So a final word for me, I think, I mean, it became also quite obvious in your slide on the stakeholder involvement. So how to reinforce more all the stakeholders, because I think our last comment that came also on the inclusion perspective is very valid. And we also have civil society on board on the smart specialization strategies, which is another challenge to get this perspective on board. So I think this part of stakeholder involvement and the clusters specifically in this new context of strategic autonomy, I think is crucial. And also it's also an opportunity for the strategies to evolve. I think we are seeing this already now, for example, in the STEP and the strategic, the platform for the strategic technologies for Europe, where we cannot live isolated in innovation. Innovation is to go to the industry. So we need to go more into this direction and to reinforce our strategic support and our funding there. So
Sylvia, do you have an answer to the question that was raised before?
On the eligibility.
National Clusters Associations, yes.
Look, there is no, I mean, I think the best very honestly is that they will check the guidance now, because they will see there that the eligibility is not based whether it is national or regional, it's more on the thematic focus. So they need to demonstrate how they collaborate in the thematic area and they provide added value to the partnership. So this is the more or less grosso modo, but I encourage them to visit the website, and also they can contact our S3 COP in the email address I provided before, because they are the experts behind running this process, so they can support them more in a target way for the application if they're interested in applying. Thank you.
More of a thematic focus. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for participating in this very enriching debate. We will now give the floor back to Angela, who will remind the funding opportunities that there are.
Very interesting debate indeed. Okay, so we go very quickly into the calls. We have Internet Regional Innovations Investments, Strand 1. This call aims to support interregional innovation investment by fostering collaboration across regions, as spoken during the debate, and the thematic areas were digital transition, green transition, and smart manufacturing. The objective to build and support interregional value chain, support SMEs, and bridge innovation divide in Europe. Deadline is tomorrow. We have we have international innovation investment in the Strand 2. This is for integration into interregional and cross-border value chain, improved public services, contributions to the European Green Deal, and strengthening regional capacity for co-investment and innovation alignment with smart specialization strategies. Expected impact is in short-term new value change, in long-term increase EU competitiveness. Deadline also tomorrow. You will have all the information on the EU funding and tenders portal. And this other one, this third one is for 18th February next year. It is Maritime Regional Cooperation Fostering Smart Specialization and Innovation in the Sustainable Blue Economy, topic 1. The aim is to animate and underpin the S3 thematic platform for sustainable blue economy with strategic international partnerships, and projects are expected to enhance interregional cooperation, reduce the innovation divide by enabling less developed regions to access to apply innovative technologies and solutions, and the development of sustainable and competitive regional economies through targeted innovation initiatives. We have the new joint Euroclusters for Europe recovery. Deadline will be 5 February, and this call is focusing on the new technologies for strategic autonomy, in particular emphasis on the value chain. The call is divided in 2 strands. We have Strand 1 focusing on net zero technologies and critical raw materials, and Strand 2 covering value chain not covered in the Strand 1. And last but not least, there are still some open calls remaining from the Euroclusters. You will have all the information on the Cluster Collaboration website. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would like to remind you, if you have not registered yet, do register for the next talks next week and in 2 weeks. Next week, we will speak about the green transition, and on the 18th, we would speak about state aid. Finance is always the topic that interests all of you, so I hope for a lot of registrations. Do continue the discussion on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform social networks. LinkedIn group is there. Do continue your discussions there too. And if you have not done so, do visit the ECCP website. Follow us on social media. The website is clustercollaboration.eu. You can also do it on LinkedIn and on X, formerly known as Twitter, Clusters EU. EU Clusters Talks is the hashtag if you want to post anything after we have finished with this. And thank you so very much for participating. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. See you next time. And thank you, especially the wonderful panelists of today. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.